little story that must be told. Here's a little story that must be told. Here's a little story. Here's a little story.
My name is Erica Kylea White. I'm a B-girl for life, and I'm a MC always. I own Fats Chicken and Waffles. It's on MLK and Cherry. It's a historical piece of land in the Central District of Seattle. So I feel very honored to have a business that's like right there. I'm from Seattle Central District, grew up in Madison Valley, graduated at Garfield High School, class of 87 Bulldogs, represent real town legends. Yeah, I'm just a CD native. I still reside in the CD. Hip-hop wasn't something that was around before I was around. So I grew up with it. This was actually something I was alive, and then it happened. And then it's just a part of just like a everyday to how you walk, how you talk, how you dress, you know, just all of it, you know, the fashion, the style, just to like, you know, how are you presenting when you step into the room? Hip-hop raised me. Hip-hop raised me, right? I mean, of course, my parents raised me. Don't tell them hip-hop raised me. The experience for hip-hop and the culture for me actually happened being in middle school because, you know, you heard certain layers of music and, you know, I was always exposed to music, but, like, you started feeling and hearing what was happening, not even in your own town, right? So, you know, in middle school, you know, we're beating on the tables and, you know, rapping and just doing whatever after school. You know, there's cats that would be breakdancing like C. Scott and just a number of cats. This is in the 1980s, right? So right outside of Washington Middle School in the back, there was a platform. So they would put cardboard down. It was pop locking and bopping. And, you know, then we had Friday night skating, you know, at the school. You know, so if you was a student, it was like $1. You didn't go to Washington, it was like $3. But the music was being played. So like we're roller skating and you're just, it just was like multiple things that like popped off. You feel like we're embracing this culture of just like dance and skate and just, you know, have a good time. You know, the 70s and the 80s were about having a good time. Like we skated a lot. You know what I mean? We were at the parks, you know, we were doing things, and then there was a sound that was like the backdrop, to whatever it is that you were doing. Multiple things from the time that I first heard and felt what it was to actually doing something and then actually being involved in it. The culture and what you felt when you first received it and all the different things just stay with you. Right? And so then as the individual, you feel like, wait, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. What I heard was the percussion. What I heard was the beat and the rhythm. And that drew me. I started playing percussion. And then when I was at Garfield, this is 1984, you know, I was the only female drum player, right? And I was like, okay. That's what really where it started, like me just embracing what I felt. Even if I didn't understand what it was, I just knew that it was like, this feels true. I heard how the music sounded. It was refreshing, and I knew it, and I liked it. I don't know anything different. Like it was like I was really born into this lifestyle. The way that I dressed, the way that I walked, the way that I talked, just the whole just energy of like knowing that I have not just the culture, but I have my ancestors. I have all the things that I've seen, the things that have helped me grow to be who I am today is in part to the people that I grew up with, to the people that I grew up with within the culture, you know, to this community, you know, to the freedom of expression, you know, all of those things. I understood that by just doing it. And I have people tell me this to this day. They're like, you've always stayed true to who you were. You can't buy that. So you think about, like, again, I grew up in the 80s, so there was a lot of ranking going on, you know what I mean? So you had to be, you know, really sharp, and you got to be ready for a comeback. That's hip hop. That's freestyling. You know what I mean? You freestyling, you battling somebody. You're looking at, what can I say? So when it's my turn, I'm curious about how to approach this situation, so that people were like, oh, that's what it was. I grew up in a time frame where it's like, all right, you can be who you are, but you got to be the freshest you. The first time I ever got up on the microphone and freestyled in every hip hop show, there's a freestyle session, and all the guys are up there, and I'm just like, oh man. I just remember going up there, and it just was like, oh! There was very few female MCs in this just hip hop culture, right? Yeah, you're females. I'm gonna battle you. That's fine. Let's battle, because you just don't even know who I am. Like, I got a whole arsenal of stuff in my backpack that I've been waiting to unleash on you, and then I'm looking at you because I came from an era of that's the whole ranking thing, right? So now I'm looking at how I can get you, and as soon as I start freestyling, I'm about to just attack you. And then they were like, okay, well, shit, she's just not okay, you're cool. It's like, I need your approval. I pretty much set your ass, and you know what I mean? And then it's like, let's go, because we're all doing this together. And I just think it's kind of like a male-female thing that ultimately happens, but I was never seeking to do anything to earn anyone's respect. Like, who's my peer or who we're doing this together. I need to earn your respect. You know what I mean? You're going to respect me, because I'm going to come up here and I'm going to rip this shit like I did last year. And then people were like, damn, all these people performing, no one ripped it like you did. Like, 2 songs. Okay, I'm done. Drop the mic. Let's go. I think the best freestylers are like, you just got to have just, what's going to be your lead? Mm-hmm. And from there, you just flow. You become jazz, right? Because that's the whole improvise. Just be free. There's a freedom in that. A rap artist is not a hip hop artist. They're a rapper. That's the MC part of the culture of hip hop. So you're just doing that. You're not hip hop. And I think a lot of people nowadays, they don't even understand that it's an actual culture. Yeah. Like, culture? Seattle, because of where we're at, there's no sound. You know what I mean? There's no... Mix-a-Lot's not the sound of Seattle. Macklemore's not the sound of Seattle. You know what I mean? The sound of Seattle is all the different individuals who project their voice to present it in the middle of these raindrops and these gray days. That's the Seattle sound. It's wet and gray. There you go. Sprinkle that. Yeah. Well, I think for me, Beyond Reality was a part of what I was saying, like being beyond the reality of how people perceive you or how people want you to be. Like being beyond reality. Like, what does that mean? Like being beyond yourself. Like, resourcing to a higher being. Beyond Reality, in the beginning, it was me and Shalendra. At one point, Topspin, he was my DJ for a little bit. And then it ended with my son. He was my hype man. He started being my hype man only because where we lived at, the studio was here, the living room was here, he's watching Blue's Clues, I'm rehearsing my song, and I hear him hyping, like not even doing it, like he's just doing ad-libs. Like, you know the song? He's like, yeah. And I was like, do you want to perform with me? And he's 3-4 years. Like, yeah. And the first show, I could not get him off of my leg. I was like, yo, I was trying to, I was like, ooh, like, back up. And then by the end, he was still on the whole show. And then my nephew DJ for a little bit after Topspin. I would always have someone just back, just controlling the sound. But it really ended with me, my son Upendu, and my nephew Aaron, and it was just like me and my son. So over the years, it just changed. But I was always the lead vocals. I only recorded one studio album under Beyond Reality, but I was on like a number of different tracks. Like we did the Word Sound Power compilation through Jasiri. I was on different songs with Source of Labor, Wonder Twins, a number of different tracks. And then did just different compilation albums that happened there. So in my mid-20s, I have the ability to be able to do the thing that I've always loved to do around people that I love and that they also love this culture too. So for me, like Jonathan Moore, rest in love, when I met him, he already had, again, his own story about being involved in the culture and doing things in Atlanta for source of labor and then bringing that back to Seattle where there wasn't no platform. There wasn't a scene, but the scene was being built. Wordsayer, Negasai, and Kamikaze living where they lived at, and Vitamin walking down the street and like hearing this sound and like, oh, what's this? Like, this is this. Like, he understands, like, this is the culture, and just knocks on the door and they connect. And from there's the connection and the sprouting of, okay, this is what we're doing. Oh, this is what you guys are doing. We can do all these things together and rebuild it. And so now there is an actual hip hop scene in Seattle, right? There was hip hop culture and movement that was happening in the 80s, but like in the mid 90s, 93, 94, it started growing again. And this is happening here in the Central District, right? So at that time, I'm 23, going on 24, and I meet Wordsayer and we connect because we had so much in common that it was just like, yo, this is crazy, and within the culture of what was happening in Seattle at that time, there was all the different crews. And it wasn't like, in the sake of like, a battling sense, but it's like we're building together, this your crew, this our crew, multiple crews. Hey, we'll put on a show. Let's put these flyers together. Let's walk down the street and promote, because there's no internet. So we're the internet. We're the social media. You know what I mean? We're the pick up the phone. We're the, what's your mailing address and your phone number? Like, email would have been great, but you got to take some time. Like, hey, when you sign our mailing list, we'll let you know next time we're doing a show. That's what was happening in Seattle, 93, 94, and then so on, to create a scene. So you have this melting pot of different individuals, different points in their life where hip-hop hit them, right? But then ultimately, we all start connecting together at a certain point in time. And this is like 93, 94. And to just talk about different parties and events that were happening, these are all vinyl. There's no controllers. There's no Serato. So you're literally rocking a party with all vinyl sets. You got Kamikaze, you got Vitamin, you have just multiple DJs that are just like rocking parties. The DJing actually came from house parties and being able to actually be the one that can change the vinyl, because you got these needles and you can't mess up your parents' needles. So you got to be really, gentle and sensitive to that. And, I grew up in a household where my house was like the host house. My dad was a chef, so he would cook this big spread of food, and my aunts and uncles, they weren't necessarily really my aunts and uncles, but, in the black community, that's your auntie, that's your uncle, that's what you call them, out of respect. So your aunties and uncles are at the house, and you're just engulfed in that culture, right? Mm-hmm. But so when you prepare yourself for the next level, it didn't seem so off, the sound of music, because I was able to select music. I was able to be like, okay, can I play the next album, that you guys are going to listen to while they're over there doing their thing? I'm over there putting music on. Songs that are my favorite songs, things that I like to hear, but also that I knew that they like to hear because I heard them playing it too. Literally everything that I've done in my life, from being a part of the culture of hip-hop, to being a business owner, to having my restaurant feel like you're coming to my house when we would have these house parties. So you hear music in the background. You get that love and feeling from your family, you know what I mean? And you're getting served up some good food. You leave feeling good, right? I grew up where I was exposed to that feeling without even knowing that these would be parts of bits and pieces to what you're going to be doing later on in life. Wordsayer, he's still here. He doesn't go on. I feel like every time I speak or I talk about anything that's in the culture, I always have to talk about, our connection and make sure that his voice is still being heard, because, you can't call him up to sit down for an interview. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? But who he was, and what he represents is still vibrant to this day. Yeah, I mean, he's was just an amazing person, you know, to just like know. And my son, he's a reflection of me and Jonathan, right? He's a perfect combination. There's times I talk to him on the phone, I'm like, oh my God, you sound like your dad. Without Wordsayer and without Jonathan, a lot of what's happening wouldn't be happening the way that it is. It still would happen, but there's a certain vibe and energy that, you know, he put down. You know, this is a stamp. And anyone that's a part of the Seattle hip-hop scene to this day and for infinity, you never forget. You can never forget Wordsayer, right? Don't ever forget, you know, your founders, people that helped to create a platform for you to step on. Jasiri was our platform to express ourselves, you know, in our most, you know, open and, you know, courageous format. Jasiri is Swahili for courage. So you had to step out on the edge to be like, this is us. This is what we're doing. And we did it in many different levels. We put our own music out. We also put on shows and had other artists performing. So it was always about community. You know, something comes in. If it works for you, keep it. If it doesn't, pass it on. No, we're not cussing and doing all this stuff in the music. We're making music that our mamas and our dads and our grandparents and our kids can listen to. When it comes to hip hop and the music and the culture, oh yeah, that's like it's a part of me. It goes nowhere. But to see myself doing what I was doing when I was in my 20s and early 30s, oh no, that person went night night. She's sleepy. I wanted to do hip hop. Boom, did it. Boom. I want to open a restaurant. Boom, did it. Right? You see what I'm saying? So when I look back, I'm like, yeah, it's great. But there's still some days I feel like, wow, you know, am I doing, you know, the right thing? Like, doubt, you know, it's like that self-doubt. But I kind of feel like if you lose that part, then you kind of lose yourself too. Because when you feel like everything is because it's so good, doesn't mean that it cannot be. I love just sharing experience, and I'm grateful for, you know, just time. You know, sometimes we take it for granted, you know, but I'm grateful that I've had the opportunity to, like, literally, like, rise up from something that it's like, if you can get through this, if you can manage to get the courage to move through this, the rest is going to be like this. And I really felt like I had the opportunity just in, you know, self-preservation, just like the belief. And within that, all the different people that come to you, the doors are just opened. As soon as you just make that move and you keep making those steps, the doors just open. And you don't even see the door open until you get there and you're like, yo, that's crazy, right? And then you're like, oh, okay, that's the Most High. I get it. Until I'm out of here, you know what I mean? I'm gonna live the culture, you know. Like I said, at the restaurant, you know, you walk in there and it feels like a hip hop soul museum, you know what I mean? And I feel like, oh man, I'm at my favorite auntie's house. That's what I want. I want to have a space where when you walk in, you're like, oh yeah, I'm at my auntie's. True auntie vibe. Like, people come in and they're like, they know me from the restaurant, and then they find out from the music and they're like, who are you? Like, I'm hip hop's child, baby. Yeah.